Hello everyone, we're here with Kevin Wade. He is one of the founders of Neurosomatic Therapy here at the St. John Clark Pain Treatment Center.
Hello.
So Kevin, can you tell us about your background? How did you get into the massage field, and then how did you subsequently find neurosomatic therapy?
So it's kind of a circuitous route with a little bit of synergy thrown into it. I started in college in the acting program at the University of Illinois, and went through that whole training program there. But one of my teachers incorporated bodywork and massage and breathing, visualization, all this kind of work to do within what we were doing on stage, accessing creativity, finding out how to use our bodies on stage, create characters, that kind of thing, get rid of tension and pain and things that we're dealing with that might interfere with that. So I learned about all of that when I was in college. I started receiving professional massage in Champaign-Urbana at the time, and fast forward a few years, I got out of school, I'm in Chicago, I'm doing the art scene and all of that, working a day job, which I got laid off from, and it was time to find something else to do. And I'd always had it in the back of my mind, because of my experiences in college, that I would enjoy doing massage therapy. And so I went to the Chicago School of Massage Therapy, went through their program, began working full time, and I escalated to an assistant director position of the Massage Therapy Center for Winnetka there early on. And we had to start doing continuing education. Had a couple of recommendations to go to one of Paul St. John's seminars in Madison, Wisconsin. And within about the first 10 minutes of that seminar, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. This is how I wanted to help people, and the tools were there for me to be able to do it. Fast forward another few years, I got involved with the organization as a teaching assistant. I was asked to come and be a teaching assistant, and I found out during kind of in there someplace that the first professional massage therapist that I saw it was a student of Paul St. John and taught for Paul St. John, so I was exposed to his work early on, and those were like my formative ideas about what massage therapy and body work was supposed to be. So that when I had done that work, Doug Nelson is the therapist, and he's now the head of the Massage Therapy Foundation. But he planted some seeds for me, and then when I kind of almost accidentally, if you believe in accidents, bumped into Paul St. John's work again, I identified with it right away, and so that there was a purpose to all of that happening early on in my life. So
lots of synchronicities there.
Right,
sounds like.
exactly. So then I started incorporating this work into the practice I was in Chicago, and had continued to develop as an instructor with neurosomatic educators, and eventually Randy Clark asked me to come down here and work at the clinic with them and continue to help develop things, and so here we are. Here we are 10 years later, but yeah.
And something you said interests me when you said that you went to one of Paul St. John's seminars. Within 10 minutes, you're like, this is what I want to do. So what was it that happened in those 10 minutes that was so different from what you had learned before?
It was the very clear idea that there was a system. There was a way to be able to analyze and see and plan and have solutions for the things that were going on for people. In my massage education, and I think this is common for massage therapists, we learn protocols, and this is what you do for a leg, this is what you do for the back, and routines and that kind of thing. But there was very little education as far as pathologies and treatment planning and analysis of why these things were happening in the first place. And it was very clear from that seminar that there was an explanation. There was a why to why this stuff was happening. And when you understood the why, you could treat the source issue. You could treat the reason the pain was happening in the first place. Instead of what I was doing at the time was doing full body deep tissue treatments, trying to treat everything and hope that I got the right thing. And as I've become educated on how the body really works musculoskeletally, if you treat everything, you're treating some things that need to be treated, and you're treating some things that don't need to be treated, and you may be just treading water, right? Not really motivating change in someone's body, but just kind of alleviating some of the aches and pains and that kind of thing, but never making the changes in someone's body that would help that to go away, to solve the problem. And that's when I understood from this work that this was a pathway to get to a solution. That's what really got me excited about it.
Yeah, that more targeted approach instead of just like throwing it at the wall to see what sticks.
Right. Because when we measure and we introduce patients to this idea of measuring and charting and all of that, and they come back the second time and you measure them again, and they're like, "You're measuring me again?" Right? Yep, I'm measuring you again. And if I'm going to take the 10 minutes to do this now at the beginning of our appointment, everything else that I do for the next 40, 50 minutes is going to be focused on actually making the changes that we want to make, rather than just searching and hoping.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it did it for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it seems like almost all the therapists here are avid learners. They're constantly picking up new skills, new methodologies.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's on your radar screen, or anything that you're diving into now?
Yeah, for me right now, it's autism spectrum disorder.
Oh.
Yeah. The work that we do, the organization, Paul St. John, going back, many years, decades now, with this work, and the other St. John Neuromuscular Therapists and the Neurosomatic Therapists now, as we call it, have a really good track record of treating ASD patients, and not only helping to just alleviate symptoms, but helping them in their progress to recovery. There is a growing movement of understanding of learning in the field of autism spectrum, that kind of points to the fact that much of what is presented in those cases is medical in origin. It is physiological processes that are going on for these patients that then result in the psychological behaviors, which is where the diagnosis of ASD comes from. It's a psychological diagnosis, but everything from mitochondrial dysfunction to inflammatory situations of the nervous system, to dietary exposures, chemical exposure. There's so many different moving pieces and factors in autism spectrum, and the whole biomedical approach to treating is looking at the underlying medical conditions that apply. So with that in mind, the structural and functional aspects of the musculoskeletal system, the nervous system, the interface with motor planning issues, fine motor skills as an issue for autism patients, sensitivity levels, nervous systems that are on high speed all the time, and having influenced by things like fluorescent lights and Wi-Fi and noises and lights and colors and sounds, all that kind of stuff. But we know that a large part of the work that we do in NST is to take a nervous system that is overexcited and to modulate it down, to reduce pain issues and create proper function. So we've had a lot of success with ASD patients in being able to help do that with them. And then you go beyond that to structural issues with the brainstem and the atlas and axis, the cranium, what's going on in the upper part of the nervous system, the gastrointestinal tract. There's a lot of gut issues with ASD patients, and again, all the peripheral sensitivities, that kind of thing, which require, trigger the need for what they call stimming in ASD patients. So our work is highly successful there, but in terms of what I've been working on now is diving into that syndrome a whole lot more deeply in order to have the kind of foundational information that we need to, my goal is to create more curriculum for treating special needs, and especially autism disorder, and bringing that over to the school, bringing that to the therapists here, and to the therapists in general around the country, because there isn't a whole lot of education centered around that, and autism is at epidemic proportions right now. So I think it's 1 in 58 children now are diagnosed with autism. So there's a very large group of people who could use our help that are dealing with that. So that's what I've been working on lately. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if anybody would like to come in and see you at the clinic, what days are you usually here? I'm treating Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm teaching on Mondays and Thursdays, and doing administration at the school. So often, even on those days, I'm bouncing back and forth. But my treatment days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today, Kevin. And if anybody would like to book a session, call our front office.
Great. Thanks.